Awesome. I always say this at the start of every single one of these: man, myth, legend. Jonny, my man, if no one knows who you are, or anyone who's watching this isn't aware of who you are, how would you introduce yourself, brother? So age, job role, you a little bit of your hobbies. Obviously, I know we talked about it earlier with the bird watching and stuff, but like, how would you introduce yourself, dude? How would you introduce Jonny?
Jonny Rankin, 38. I'm a chartered town planner by profession. As you pointed to, I love bird watching, and that bird watching has opened up a lot of other things, big endurance challenges, journalistic stuff, public speaking, loads of stuff that has all stemmed from looking at birds.
Mate, that's brilliant. That's fucking absolutely brilliant. And when we say looking at birds, we're talking about animals, by the way. Anyone who, I know obviously you coach blokes, so we're not talking about women. But like,
I don't discriminate, but largely feathered ones.
Yeah. So anyone who's sort of watching this, mate, let's go into it. Like, before, obviously, you've been in the program now 6 weeks, and you are absolutely crushing this. And we'll go a little bit into what you've achieved so far in a minute. But like, what happened in the last couple of years? What was the reason you felt like you needed to take something on like this? What happened, mate? Let's go through that. What was your situation prior to joining us with your self-confidence?
I can answer this better now than I could have done when I started. Nice. But effectively, I wasn't myself. I wasn't feeling myself, and a cumulative effect of the lockdown, basically all your freedoms and activities been stripped away.
Yeah.
It made me accept things that were unacceptable, like shitty employment, not traveling as much as I used to. You should travel routinely. Even for sort of some of the journalistic commissions, I'd be on the Isles of Scilly, I'd be up in Norway, and then that's between, say, my mum in Cumbria, the northeast, going to Scotland in the spring. So my world went from like a global village with friends that I know through bird watching or family, to being in like 4 walls. And when you're stripped away from your community, your family, you then accept things that are pretty unacceptable, like a shitty employment and shitty working condition, as one example.
Yeah.
And my fitness reduced from a really, really, really high level in autumn 2019. Well, I literally cycled 160 odd miles and ran a marathon, to like, well, cumulatively over the lockdown, not been out as much. And I got hit by a car in the July of 2020. Then I had to recover from that, the 4 days in hospital, and then the onward physio. And it was just kind of accumulation of all these things. Lost my dog in the end of that year. So all these little sort of contact points that are your constants left. And then 2021 was kind of cool, but not great. On reflection, at the time I didn't realize it was a bit shit. But when I came through earlier this year, new employment, made the big changes I needed to, that allowed me to then think, right, you need to get your training back on track. You need to consider matters going forward. And I picked up the Ollie Ollerton book, and that coincided with following you, and everything happened in like, I don't know whether it's one of those things where you put yourself out in the universe and Alex answered. I don't know.
I do think that's true. I do think there's parts of the world that like guide you, and like, mate, I mean, like a lot of lads, 100%. There's going to be a lot of blokes watching this that will relate to like, over the last 2 years, there's been like challenge, and constant like pounding of like, fuck's sake, will anything just work its shit out? And I think it's very easy, isn't it, to get really bogged down. And like you said, mate, the last 2 years have been basically caged like an animal. I've got it somewhere on my board. What's the thing? Like, it's about the that's it. So I have to remember to myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright, and when they fly away, to be part of known as it was to sin to lock them up. Updoers rejoice, but still the place you live is much more drab and empty than they're gone. I guess I miss my friends. And that's from the Shawshank Redemption, talking about like, you shouldn't fucking lock like blokes in a cage. And I think like the reality of the last 2 years is suddenly, like you said, your values, thought processes change. And exactly what you said there, Jonny, you cannot become the bloke that you used to be. 100% relate to that, by the way. And I've actually done a few things, you know, we talked about proactively myself that are trying to push away from that. But like, what effect did that have on your confidence, mate? All that trial and tribulation, where was your confidence at the end of that period, if you don't mind me asking?
Like shit. You know, like I'm a really confident dude. I have to be, because my job.
Yeah.
I have to be to present, you know, Dubstep, the ongoing fundraising activity I've done since 2013, 14. It's a prerequisite. Yeah. And I was keeping that up. But then internally and at home, I'd lost like all the things that made me confident in the first place.
Yeah.
So you were still keeping the output up, but then it wasn't as backfilled. You know, it wasn't, I don't know how to explain it.
Do you find that what
it was like, it wasn't a front.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as good as it could have been. And now I'm getting back to all the things that allow you to exceed and excel and be quite brutal, you know, focused and brutal, are getting back in there.
Do you find that almost what it was like, it's not false confidence, but it's you're only having confidence in what you know. So in the sense of your work life, you very much know that, so you can be confident and competent in it. But like you said, it's in the background, all this stuff that's going on, and this sort of soup of like cocktail of things you're trying to deal with. It's then like, fuck, that's actually knocking my home confidence. And it's that you know, you, the actual confident of you, because we aren't, you know, I talk to you guys about this a lot, like we're not defined by our job roles. We're defined by who we are. And sometimes it's quite easy to forget that. Is like people go, oh, introduce yourself. And they'll go, I'm a sales executive for this, that, and the other. And you're like, that's not you though. That's the way that you earn your money. Yeah, great. But you've got to find you. And I think that's, you know, the reality. And like you said, your confidence was knocked. And obviously I know, you know, leading into now, so that was like the negative. We'll go away from the negative because we don't want to focus on that. But like, you know, obviously you followed Ollie. Obviously I work for Breakpoint, so he reposts a lot of my stuff. The legend, the man that he is. Obviously, you know, it's great that I've been able to obviously involve those guys with you as well, which has been fantastic. I believe I reached out to you, mate, didn't I? I reached out to you, and the main reason being is like, I'm just one where I will sit and go, right, who's following my page? Why are they following me? There has to be a reason for it. You know, always it for tips, is it for tricks? Sometimes I'll be like, oh, look, you know, what else can we do more for the free content? At the same time, like, I know sometimes it's quite hard for guys to reach out, because it is. So sometimes it's like, you know, if I play the first move, it means that they're actually feel a little bit more comfortable. And then me and you obviously jumped on a call. You told me about these big events you've previously done. And I was like, this is going to be fucking sick, because if you've previously done this, I will definitely be able to help you, which is really cool. And you obviously took action and joined us, and you've been in the program now 6 weeks. But what I'd love to talk about is like, even in a month and a half, so very short period compared to what we're going to go on to do, because we'll refilm this in a year, by the way. But like, you know, looking at this short period, how have you found the increase in your confidence? What do you feel like the effects have been for you so far, Jonny, even in this 6 week period, mate?
It's been like an odd thing to start with saying, but the mental side of it's been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, without being too dramatic, I'm in like turmoil. I come off a call and I'm like thinking about all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, what do I want to be doing in X, Y, Z time?
Yeah.
But all that's resulted in is I've had, you know, like good sort of solid reflection.
Yeah.
My goals remain the same, but kind of more informed. And it's put me back to doing stuff that I was doing, you know, before. So I've created like a Twitter space. Never even heard of it, but it's a Twitter space for birdwatchers just to have a chat. Now, before the pandemic, I had a podcast, and it was brilliant. You know, it was like a podcast where you get big guests on and have friends on just to talk about things. So it's no different to this community. The power of community is it's massive. You know, that's kind of what I think the lockdown canned a bit. People you would routinely see through the rhythm of your year, you didn't see them. And so those touch points in that community left. So that's been great. You know, I filled a journal here full of reflections. I'd never done that in a million years, just wouldn't have. I wouldn't have put it on paper, thought about it, reflected back on my aims, which remain the same, just more informed. And so that's changed. And then importantly, I'm actually using the gym. Yeah. I went to the gym before. I used to go, there's a nice outdoor pool. So I used to go and have a dip in the outdoor pool, and I was aware there was weights, I could see them, but I'd never used weights, never used a rowing machine.
Yeah.
And I love the rowing machine. I think that's wicked. And I'm getting used to the weights, and it's available to me. It's like 7 minutes walk over there.
Yeah, with your little fob. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Like the biggest thing I remember, and like you said, like mentally getting into exercise, getting back into that routine, using the gym, proactively. Like there's a lot, I'm sure you'll agree. Like what we run inside the Warriors isn't just here's a training program, good luck. Like there's no fucking chance I'd be able to actually change people's lives with that. Like for me, it's about proactively helping you to implement and also understand things about your body, your brain, and your life. Biggest one being there is life, because it's all well and good if you look great and if you've got loads of energy and if you're mentally very strong, but if you've got no fucking life, what's the point? And I think that's huge for me. And like, where do you now, even in this short 6 weeks, where's your confidence gone? So let's say like we were quite low before. Where can you see it already, Jonny, in this short period?
So like I'll use an example, which seems trivial, but it's a good example. Like on Friday, I took my running kit to work.
Nice.
There's no shower, so bear that in mind. But I wouldn't have been confident because I felt out of shape. I wouldn't have been confident to put my running kit on in my workplace and be like, right, I'm chipping off for a half-hour run. Yeah. They'd be like, well, why, he's not even in shape. Why is he gone on a half-hour run?
Okay, I get you.
And then I did my half-hour run and come back, had a strip wash down the sink. Happy Christmas. I didn't smell too bad for the afternoon. But even if I did smell bad, who cares, man? I've got my training on my lunch break. I'm going to do it Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that and walk past my colleagues in my running kit 6 weeks ago, which is a mad thing to say because 2019, 18, I ran every single lunch break at my then employment.
Yeah.
But that just is a little example of like the confidence and the shift over 6 weeks.
Mate, that's epic. I think there's a few things on that. Like you said, it's like the self-confidence. A lot of blokes will not be confident in front of their friends. And like, when you talk about, I know we've had a few conversations and you've probably listened to me talk to some of the other guys about it. Like being comfortable in yourself is one of the most important things. Like if you're not comfortable in your body, it's very difficult because it's like there's not really much you can do about that to change it quickly. You have to be confident in moving that forward. And do you think that like the 6 weeks of consistent training has been a massive factor to that? Is like you feel happier and you really, and that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it's a difference between I've got myself to high levels of fitness before.
Yeah.
And maybe I could have done it. Maybe I could have done it on my own.
Yeah.
But I've definitely done it.
Yeah.
Through this group.
That's the huge, like that word is huge, isn't it? Maybe. And I think it's massive. Like you see it in so many guys. It's like, we talked about it, didn't we? And you said at the start of this sort of like the recording we're going through now is like, you got the new employment, everything else started to turn shape. And then you realize like, I don't want to leave the other stuff to chance, because like you said, you might not have stepped in front of into the gym and like you maybe had put it off a few times. And a lot of guys will relate to that, is like, you probably could do it alone, but it's like, but the fact that you're saying probably means that there's a chance that it won't happen. And it's like, oh, how would that affect the next 5, 10, 15 years if you don't do it? And that's obviously huge. And mate, that's brilliant. And, going into that, looking at actually how we run the program, as I say, you've only been in a short time, like 6 weeks, and, we're obviously on for the rest of the year, but like, look at this, Jonny, like, being in the program, how have you found the plan, having an actual structure, exercise breakdowns, everything that you need to know in, out daily, the education from guys like Lee, from guys like, Ben Williams, the guys that we brought in, the stuff that we do with you guys live, the support from myself, the other coaches, the other guys in the group, the community, someone to hold you accountable and hold your feet to the fire. And we're actually changing that soon, which is going to be a lot better. But like, how do you find the actual program? How do you find the actual Warriors? Like, what would you say about how we run things?
The accountability is brilliant. Because people know that I go and do training and that, and they all love me. I'm sure my friends and family love me, but they don't really care that I've done like a 10K or whatever. Whereas, in the group, it's like, nice one, mate, bang. And you've done your training for the week. You reflected it with people who are in a form whereby they do care and they will respond, and they're not just humouring you. So it's kind of, I know it's like positive reinforcement.
100%.
I'm gently working my way through the lab.
Yep.
And it's maybe you did know a percentage of it, but the percentage you didn't know, you're adding that, but you're also reflecting on things. You're reflecting on your diet. You're reflecting on your hydration. I found it like yesterday when I was walking 10, 11 mile with Fee, I was monitoring my food intake.
Yeah.
And I used to do that routinely, but I sort of let it go. And it was like, oh yeah, you do know about this, but it was like improved because I'd watched the hydration video in the lab.
Yeah, we're actually covering that in more depth this month with Drew about hydration for athletes, which is huge. And like, mate, I completely. Do you find as well, right? And this was a huge thing. Me and a couple of lads like Steve Ellis, like loads of guys have had it. Is like when you're in a program like this that is this immersive, like it's not just a bit of a throwaway. It's something that like you said, you're constantly. You've got the support from the guys, you've got the accountability from others, you've got a constant stream of ability. If you really immerse yourself, I guarantee I'll fucking change your life. But like, you've got that constant ability. Do you find it's like a constant reminder? So then, like you said, it's like, it's not just the fact that, everyone knows that drinking 3 liters of water is fucking good for you. Everyone knows that having 8 hours sleep is good for you. Everyone knows that planning your week is a good idea. But because you're constantly in that mind space of 30 odd other blokes, constantly doing it as well, you're looking at it and going, well, of course I'm going to do it because there's 30 other people. And it's like the implementation is what actually works. Like I've said it before to you, Johnny, haven't I? Knowledge isn't fucking power. That statement is bullshit. Knowledge is potential power if you use it. Like if you know something but don't do it, there was no point in knowing it. Like, so that's it. Like, and that's the biggest thing, mate. Do you find that? Do you find that it's like that constant reminder, so therefore you implement?
Yeah, it's when I've been training in the past, I was reflecting on hydration. Right, I need my iodine tabs, I need my hydration tabs to cover this 60 miles. Yep. I need to make sure I've shifted this litre bottle AM or this 2 litre bottle AM and PM. Yep. And it's all pre-planned. But then it's sort of come back into play, not in its dramatic environment, but it's important. It's every day. It's consistency.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you plan your week. You're right, I've got these workouts to do. Right, I'm going to do this one before work tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm going to do this one Wednesday. So I shuffle it around to get it all done.
Yeah.
On True Coach, not necessarily in the right order, but you already put a positive input into your week because I want to do all of these, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Even like for me, I love a drink. I love a beer.
Yeah, we talked about it before, haven't we? Yeah, yeah.
But I'm going to have my pints with my mate this night because I've got rest day the next day. Or I'm going to have, big beers with a mate, but I'm going to do me pack carry, that day because you can do that and give it a good effort.
Yeah.
So even that's been a positive. There's been a massive depletion in, I'm happy to say to colleagues, yes, I'm going to come out, but I'm not drinking tonight.
Yes.
And I've never done that before.
Yeah. And that's real self-confidence. Like that actual self-confidence to have the ability to control what you're doing with your life. And I think that's huge. And like we talked about that before, like I will never tell anybody, don't do anything. Do what the fuck you want to do. All I'd say is let's do it in a way that it is in line with your goals and still gets you there. So like, I am never going to say, and you know this as well as I do, Johnny, like the first conversation we had, I was like, you're like, oh, I enjoy drink. And every time I've tried fitness, I've had to give up this. And I'm like, yeah, fuck that. Why would you give up pints? Like all you need to do is structure the calories so that we can get the pints in. And it's like, oh, okay, that'll work. And like me and a couple of other lads have had this exact chat, haven't we? Where like, well, if you have that information, it means that sustainability, like you said there, and consistency isn't about you consistently nail yourself into the ground every week and do fuck all that's fun and end up, maybe hopefully one day stepping on a bodybuilding stage. Like, fuck that. Like, that is pointless. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what about the other 50 odd years of your life? Like, or 60, 70, 80 odd years, depending on how old you are. Like, what are you going to do then? Oh, well, it's like, well, yeah, it's pointless. Let's teach you processes that you can do literally for the rest of your life. Still have a drink, still have a pizza, still enjoy your weekends, like you said there, and structure your life so you still lose the weight or gain the muscle or increase your fitness, but it works. And it's actually a long period. But mate, that's brilliant. I want to go into a little bit about, you've been in 6 weeks. You've obviously, you've got a long journey ahead of us, which is going to be absolutely brilliant with the crusade, and what we're going for and everything we're doing, Johnny. But like, how do you see your future now compared to if you weren't in the program?
Well, I've already put into play things that I had in my mind.
Yeah.
And they've already been put into play. So that dubstep that I mentioned,
yeah,
because of the clarity, because of the focus, and sort of coming back to where I was, and I was like, no, this is my life. This is what I can do and deliver.
Yeah.
And I've already put in play like a couple of things that have been on my to-do list. So, you know, these things might fail. They've failed in the past, but they're definitely going to fail if you don't have a crack.
Yes.
So I've put in play, you know, the opportunity to write a book about the last, what'll be the 10 years with a partner, with a co-writer who would deal with the sort of the science and the conservation of it. So it'll be like a co-authored book. And the idea is that that'll coincide with the 10-year anniversary of us starting, and an event and a public speaking engagements as part of the event. Now, it might not come off, it might fail miserably.
Yeah.
But it was definitely going to fail miserably if I hadn't at least started getting things in process. And the important thing with it being 2024 is that I've got a year's training with you to potentially get to the point where I was, you know, in autumn 2019. Then I can deliver what I'd wished to have done had we not had the last 2 crap years.
I mean, I'm quite good at that, aren't I? And I do it a lot every week, where I'll just like, I think because I'm biased, and also because in my mind I'm like, there's not really much for me to lose, in the sense of I just say like, you guys will present me with something that you want to do. A lot of the time it's job roles, or it'll be you know, making a decision about something that you want to proactively, you know, move forward with. Like, you know, I won't go into what yours too much was that we talked about earlier, but it might be promotions, it might be you know, investments, it might be all this stuff. And like, sometimes what I'll say is I'll just be really blunt, Jonny, when I'll be like, okay, you've got 7 days, I need an answer, or X. And it's like, right. And it's like, sometimes though, you need that person to just literally be like, look, we are making a decision and you have to have it done by this point. A lot of the time it's, or you lose your beard, or you lose this, or you lose, you know, just funny stuff, which is a good laugh. And like Ali did that with Connor, didn't I? And anyone who's watching this, I don't do that in like a, you know, a way that the guys wouldn't have already suggested they wanted to do something. I'm not just going, right, sell your house, mate, otherwise you shave your beard. Obviously, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is,
I'm the only person in the group who's got their eyebrows and their hair.
Yeah, exactly. No. You imagine that. Fucking hell. But I mean, sometimes what guys will say is, oh, I'm sitting on something, I haven't done it. And I'm like, okay, like you said about the book, it might be, I know Liam, one of my clients before, like he's still in the program now, actually. Like he's started writing a book. So is Max, actually, to be fair. And I said, like, okay, I want the first 3 pages by Saturday, and all I want you to do is have an introduction of what it's going to be, and then that starts the wheels turning. But yeah, I think that's what's great about the program, is there's a lot of accountability we can give that isn't even to do with fitness. It's like, because I think for me, like, and you know this as well as I do, like I've got quite I don't know how you say it, quite an in-depth analytical mind, and there's certain processes where I've gone into in my own head about life. And I think it's just when you can see it clearly about, look, the time is fucking going anyway, make the decision to do it, because if not, that time is wasted. You aren't getting that back. And then that's been great, isn't it? It's like, let's just put steps in play. And you know, what we talked about earlier, I definitely think what you're going to do with that, your life will be a massive change over the next year. And that's going to be brilliant. From where you were to where you will be, it's going to be fucking epic, to be fair. Yeah.
I just wouldn't have had the reflection.
Yes, that's very true, actually. Yeah, fair point. Yeah,
I would never have sat down with a bit of paper, reflected on matters, written about them, and actioned them.
Yeah,
it might have happened in a sort of very gentle, organic way in my mind, but it's happened in a very explicit way over the last 6 weeks.
Mate, that's brilliant. And last question with this, Jonny. Last question with this. So, even over the last 6 weeks, and from what you've already experienced and what you've already gone through and what you've seen with the rest of the guys and everyone in general, and this is a question I said to you, I was going to ask you, but you won't know what it is. Do you feel that the Warriors has the ability to change men's lives for the good?
Yes.
Nice.
Now, it comes back to what I said before. You might do your self-reflection. You might hit your goals and targets. You might do that. But this will, I can't put a percentage on it, but I think this would massively increase the percentage success.
Yeah, and that is almost like, not like force you, because I don't force people to change, guide you to do it, if that makes sense. That's true. I suppose. Yeah,
absolutely. This has all been new to me in terms of format, process, and how to achieve things.
Yeah, it's quite. I'm not massively like, I'm not just military based, but it is very much what the military do, in the sense of like in the Royal Marines, they will not let you fuck about in the way that things run, in the sense of like, it's like, that is the target, how are we getting there? And like you said, it's like, it's not as, well, naturally we could do this or that. It's like, no, hurry the fuck up, how are we getting? And then it's like that, like, you know, we do not have time to waste here, shit is going, like, and that's sometimes a lot of the stuff from Ollie or me or whatever will be about that, wouldn't it? It'll be like, I know he's delivered a really cool lecture, and it was about the clock method, and I thought that was brilliant. Like that, you know, you've gone through that, and I was like, that is absolute gold, really. But mate, like what I would say in the last point as well is like, anyone who's thinking about doing this, they've watched your story, they've watched all the other fucking countless stories now, and they're kind of like, oh, is this a good idea? Like, should I invest money in this? Should I take action in this? What would you say, Jonny? What would you say? So what I'd love you to think about is, imagine you 6 weeks ago, you're about to make the decision if you jump on board. What would you say to yourself about yes or no?
I'd say yes, do it. I was in a position, in a place whereby I was ready to do it. And therefore, I know I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to fully engage and get as much out of it as I can.
Yes, 100%.
So don't go into it flippantly. If you're going to do it, go in and just, you know, like when I first saw the training plans, I was like, oh, I don't know how to do any of these things.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I had to learn. And that's been brilliant. That's been stimulating. I've loved it. I now can go into the gym and actually use equipment, you know, in a meaningful manner. That's a kind of trivial example. But yeah, just going with an open mind, just do as you're told.
Yeah.
But it's kind of not like that. It's more freeing for you, and you'll feel the rewards more greatly, 100%. You know, on that basis.
I think for me as well, like, you know as well as I do, like the process to get into the program isn't like, you know, I think lads make the mistake of thinking like everybody will get in. Realistically, right, like, not to be too big headed, but I don't want to work with people who do not want to get results. It does not benefit fucking anybody. Like, if you join and do fuck all, it genuinely pisses me off. Like, it actually just does my head in, because I'm like, you've joined, and yes, you've invested in this, but at the end of the day, like, my job is not to make you do it. My job is to help you do it. And it's that case, isn't it, of like ownership and responsibility is massive. And like, you know, like we said, that it isn't a case of, right, oh, here's a link, good, you're in. You know, there might be a few exceptions to the rule where I think guys are really ready and we've had conversations over a long period. But the majority of guys, we're getting on a call, we're going through this, and I actually want to see if you're a good fit for this. Because we talk about it often, don't we? The community is massive, and I want it full of a group of guys who are all very like-minded. They all want to improve. They just need the guidance. And actually, that's the biggest thing, really. But mate, that's brilliant.
I've seen those people. I've seen your Ali. I've seen your Alex.
Yeah.
And if they can get to their goals, their 200k deadlift, they're adding weight, etc. Well, all I've got to do is trust the process, get in on it. Then I'm going to, you know, see similar results. And that's the approach I've got.
100%. And what I would say as well, that Jonny, say if anyone is watched this back and they go, oh look, that's, you know, it's brilliant to have seen your story. Do you mind if they message you and ask, because a lot of guys want to know about the logistics and how much value and what you get from this. Do you mind if they ask you any questions? Is that all right?
No, yeah, crack on, yeah, no problem.
I'm quite honest about that as well. I say, like, look, go speak to the guys that are already in, because realistically, you are, as soon as you get in, you know as well as I do, as soon as you get in, you'll be speaking to them anyway. So you may as well have a chat with them before you jump in. And like, so anyone, you know, mate, this has been great, and thanks for obviously giving up, you know, some time on a Sunday to do this. Anyone who's watching this back, like, you know, if you are struggling, your confidence is low, you're lacking clarity and direction in your body, your brain, and your life, and you want to join us, obviously, you've dropped me a message on Alex Griffin Coaching, or drop Jonny a message, or any of the guys that you can see on my page, or, you know, any of the lads that you want to know a bit more knowledge about what we do. But that'd be brilliant. But mate, Jonny, that's been fantastic. I'm going to stop the recording there. You're an absolute legend, mate.